precisely 8:45. This is the news on Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News is edited by Lakshman Fonseca, read by Sabrina Zawahir. The headlines. The President assures that the government has prioritized granting free land rights to the citizens. Police says several roads in Colombo will be closed for traffic once again tonight. The government says the gazette requiring citizens to provide details of their properties is not an imposition of new laws. Irrigation Department says the water levels in the upper areas of the Kalani and Kaluganga reached caution levels. 7 wild elephants wandering around the Dimbulagala Handapan Veluwa area had died, trapping a thick layer of water hyacinth. And in world news, at least 110 people, including 66 children, have died of hunger in South Darfur Kalma camp. Now the local news in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe assures that the government has prioritized granting free land rights to the citizens, ensuring justice under a law that aims to rectify historical injustices. The President made this declaration while participating in the Vaunia district program of the Urumea initiative, which was convened this morning at Pudikudirippu Madhya Mahavidyalaya. The President said that Vaunia Hospital will be developed into a teaching hospital and it will be installed to facilitate for the medical students at the new medical faculty which will be started in Vaunia University. Furthermore, he emphasized the swift implementation of the Urumea program in Vaunia district alongside the expedited distribution of land deeds to resettled individuals. Police says several roads in Colombo will be closed for traffic once again tonight in order to avoid the repetition of the incidents during the last couple of days due to the current weather conditions. Police media spokesman DIG Nihal Taldua said that Brebru-Plex, Malasekara Road in Borella to Tunmula Junction, Baudaloka Mawata and the stretches of road from Dr. Lester James Piris Mawata Rotunda Junction in Colombo 3 will remain closed for traffic tonight. Meanwhile, the police advise visitors to the Vesak zones in Colombo to park their vehicles in a safe location and proceed on foot. Finance State Minister Ranjit Simbalapati says the gazette requiring citizens to provide details of their movable and immovable properties to the Inland Revenue Department is not an imposition of new laws. He said it is simply an exercise of the existing right to collect such information. Addressing the media, he said that these rules will never be implemented to affect the past. He added this circular is a re-implementation of a law that was inactive and accordingly the announcement of the implementation of the Gazette notification issued on March 21st was made by the IRD Commissioner on May 21st. Accordingly, with effect from July 1st, the institutions such as the Land Registry Department, Company Registry Department, Stock Market, Bank and non-bank financial institutions and Motor Transport Department must report the information about their day-to-day transactions to the IRD. This news is brought to you by Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing local news, the water levels in the upper areas of the Kalani and Kaluganga have reached caution levels due to the higher rainfall in the catchment areas of these rivers. Director of Irrigation Department SPC Sugeshwara Bandara said the water levels in these rivers have reached caution levels for the first time soon after the northeast monsoon started. He instructed for those living along the upper areas of the Kalani and Kaluganga closer to the Ratnapura district to be vigilant of sudden floods. There are possibilities of sudden floods in these areas if rains of 100 millimeters continue, Bandara said. However, due to heavy rains in the Sabaragamu and western provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts in the southern province and certain areas in the northwestern province, the water levels in these areas prevail at high level, he added. 7 wild elephants wandering around the Dimbulagala Handapan Veluwa area had died, trapping a thick layer of water hyacinth. According to the Department of Wildlife, the elephants attempted to rescue a baby elephant and were caught in a river current caused by heavy rain. Assistant Director Wildlife LDP Edri Singh said over the layer of water hyacinth easily could walk during the normal days, but the experiencing of heavy rains has made the havoc. According to the veterinary branch of the Giritale Wildlife Office, all of the elephants involved in the event were under the age of 15 years. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
The ambassador of France to Sri Lanka and Maldives, Jofhosa Packet, has died of a suspected cardiac arrest at his official residence in Rajagiriya today. Police spokesman DIG Nihal Talduwa said the 53-year-old ambassador was found dead at his residence this morning. The diplomat was 53 years old at the time of his passing. It is reported Ambassador Packet has passed away due to a sudden illness. Born in 1970, Jofhosa Packet had served as ambassador of France to Sri Lanka and the Maldives since October 2022. He had previously served as Deputy Director of Culture and Education in the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Prior to this, Jofhosa Packet had been posted at the French Embassy to the United States in Washington from 2012 to 2016 and at the French Permanent Representation to NATO in Brussels. He was also a deputy spokesman for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of France. That was main news.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the Customs Department says that the department has received multiple complaints regarding a scam that promises to offer positions within the department. Customs spokesperson Sivali Arugoda said that this scheme is being executed targeting exam candidates of the state sector. He added that there is no such way of joining the customs and that only those who obtain high marks in the competitive exam will only be recruited to the department. That came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Taking a look at the headlines of the world news, Hamas launches rocket attack towards Tel Aviv area. UN says about 670 people are estimated to be buried under a massive landslide in Papua New Guinea. At least 110 people, including 66 children, have died of hunger in South Darfur, Kalma camp. Now the world news in detail. Hamas says it has launched a rocket attack towards the Tel Aviv area in central Israel for the first time in nearly 4 months. At least 8 rockets were launched from the Rafah area in southern Gaza. Several were intercepted, the Israeli military said. No injuries were reported. The Israeli army is carrying out a military operation in Rafah. Rocket sirens were sounded in other cities and towns including Herzliya and Petah Tikva. Israeli media have published footage of missile fragments in the garden of a building in Herzliya. Another social media video shows a large crater apparently created by a falling rocket in an open area near the central town of Kfar Saba. Israel's ambulance service, Megan David Adams, said many people were being treated for acute anxiety. About 670 people are estimated to be buried under a massive landslide in Papua New Guinea, a UN official says. The head of the International Organization for Migration in Papua New Guinea said the impact of Friday's landslide in the country's isolated Enga province was greater than initially thought. Gardens that had grown food and water supplies were almost completely wiped out. The landslide happened around 3 local time on Friday when people were more likely to be sleeping. Care Australia said that they have no idea of the exact number of fatalities from the landslide and may not know for some time. Helpers were using any means necessary to recover victims. People are using digging sticks, spades, large agricultural forks to remove the bodies buried under the soil. At least 110 people, including 66 children, have died of hunger, malnutrition and lack of desperately needed medications in South Darfur, Kalma camp. Sheikh Isaac Abdullah, the commander of Kalma camp and head of the Darfur Displaced and Refugees General Coordination, told Radio Dabanga that in addition to the 66 children killed, 38 people and 6 pregnant women perished within a month. He emphasized a terrible lack of food, relief and job possibilities, warning that if food deliveries are not expedited, the situation will deteriorate. Kalma camp is one of the biggest camps in the world for displaced people, with more than 170,000 people taking refuge in it from various parts of Sudan. With that, we conclude the world news. Prior to concluding, the headlines of the world news once again. Hamas launches rocket attack towards Tel Aviv area. UN says about 670 people are estimated to be buried under a massive landslide in Papua New Guinea. At least 110 people, including 66 children, have died of hunger in South Darfur Kalma camp. That ends World News.
Development News.
Steps have been taken to allocate 12,000 million rupees for the fertilizer subsidy for tea cultivation. The Minister of Agriculture and Plantation Industry, Mr. Mahinda Maravira, made these remarks at the Fresh Tea Festival, an annual ritual held in collaboration with the Sri Lanka Tea Board and private tea manufacturers, was held recently at the historic Gatabaru Rajamaha Vihara, Kotapala. He said due to the economic crisis, the COVID-19 epidemic situation and the fertilizer crisis, the application of fertilizers for tea cultivation were reduced and a significant decrease in tea harvest was reported in the past 3 years. He said the government is trying its best to develop tea plantations. That was Development News.
Moving on with sports news.
In sports news, Nations Trust Bank will host the annual Nations Trust Golf Championship 2024 at the Royal Colombo Golf Club during next weekend. The championship will include the Junior Golf Tournament on 31st May, followed by the main event which will take place on the 1st of June. Trophies and prizes will be awarded to winners and runners-up in a range of categories, including men's and ladies, masters and senior. Special awards will be on offer for the longest drive at the 8th hole, closest to the pin at the 13th hole, and the overall winner of the tournament. And more in sports news, it is cricket. Former Bangladesh coach Stuart Law believes the Bangladesh team must rethink their approach towards the game to shed the title of a perennial underachievers and leave a mark on the ICC T20 World Cup 2024. Bangladesh opened their tournament campaign on June 7th against Sri Lanka that has made huge strides since their debut in 1975 by winning both the T20 and 50-over world titles. Law, who coached Bangladesh's senior side from 2011 to 2012, believes that the way the game is administered in the country must change. That was Sports News.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekat life eke change ekat niyameta set wenna as wahagena dekapu gina habe karanna youth ekat niyameta set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Siat Kalani Holdings has extended the company's road safety program for school children to its 15th year with the donation of road safety kits to 10 more schools. Siat Kalani Holdings said each of the beneficiary schools received 7 road safety signboards, 10 traffic cones, 10 traffic warden jackets, and 300 booklets on road safety awareness for school children. The program, named Magayana Maga, is one of the community initiatives run by the SEAT Cares program of community projects. It involves the donation of traffic safety equipment to schools located close to main roads and in high congestion zones as part of the company's continuing commitment to make commuting safer, especially for school children. That came to you in business news.
Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, Sri Lanka's tourism stakeholders are urging the government to strongly consider a visa fee waiver by issuing free visas to promote tourism. The Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority has carried out research into this aspect and stated that the target of achieving 5 million tourist arrivals by 2030 could be gained by leveraging visa fee waivers as a facilitator. It notes that by waiving visa fees for tourists, Sri Lanka can enhance its attractiveness as a destination, thereby potentially increasing tourist arrivals. They said extending visa-free entry to transit passengers from countries like India and a number of other states in Asia, West Asia, South America and Europe could serve as an incentive for them to spend a few more days in Sri Lanka. That came to you in economic news.
Weather report.
Finally, we take a look at the weather report. The Met Department has issued an advisory for strong winds and rough seas for naval and fishermen communities in the deep sea areas in the southeastern Arabian Sea and in the Bay of Bengal. Accordingly, very strong winds, 60 to 70 kilometers per hour, accompanied with heavy rainfalls or very rough seas are likely over the sea areas around the country and over the southeastern Arabian Sea areas and Bay of Bengal Sea areas, it added. The naval and fishing communities are advised not to venture into the sea areas marked by red color on the map below until further notice. Naval and fishing communities are also requested to be attentive to future forecasts issued by the Met Department in this regard. That was the weather report. Prior to concluding this bulletin of news, the headlines once again. The President assures that the government has prioritized granting free land rights to the citizens. Police says several roads in Colombo will be closed for traffic once again tonight. The government says the Gazette requiring citizens to provide details of their properties is not an imposition of new laws. Irrigation Department says the water levels in the upper areas of the Kalani and Kaluganga reached caution levels. 7 wild elephants wandering around the Dimbulagala Handapan Villua area had died, trapping a thick layer of water hyacinth. With that, we conclude the news, and over to my friend and certainly yours who's all geared up to keep you entertained with a wonderful collection of music. Over to you, Dilshan.